Okay, how much for the arm?
Oh, I'll get that arm.
It's a road movie inspired retro FPS, developed by Slipgate Ironworks and published by 3D Realms. It's a pseudo sequel to 2018's Ion Fury, and it follows Shelley Bombshell Harrison as she treks across the United States in search of the enigmatic demon core.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime gal.
It has a wide variety of environments and mechanics. The gameplay is fast-paced with action-packed set pieces. The world is highly interactive and enjoyable to engage with, and the voice characters are fairly well acted, with the quips from Shelley being particularly fun. The sound design is surprisingly weak, enemy placement often feels a little too random, the art style sometimes seems a little mismatched and a little at odds with itself, and despite the variety, the game ends up being pretty repetitive. To me, Phantom Fury is something of a mixed bag. The game can be fun and really quite engaging at times, but can't really seem to decide what it wants to be. It clearly wears its inspirations on its sleeve, even imitating entire sections of other games at times. But the problem is that rather than cherry picking what works best for itself, it seems to want to do everything at once, cramming in as much as it possibly can. Now, while throwing everything at the wall can make for some pretty cool set pieces, the bulk of the game ends up being no more than mowing down tons of randomly spawning dudes between those set pieces. Not to say there's anything particularly wrong with that, it can be really cathartic to indiscriminately detonate a horde of baddies with a rolling bomb, and the fact that they all get dismembered in the process makes it all that much better. But then something of the experience is lost when you're doing it with a shotgun that sounds feeble at best. What's more is that the soundtrack barely feels like it's there, especially compared to the pulse-pounding Mick Gordon and Andrew Hulshult metal, which has become the standard for games like this. That is to say that, while the voice acting is fine, and the one-liners from Shelley are pretty damn enjoyable, the overall sound design is pretty lacking, something which can end up ruining the atmosphere for a lot of people. Now, where the game does impress is with the huge amount of interactivity with the world, and it can be really fun to go around flushing toilets, playing arcade games, getting drunk, and my personal favourite, getting a basketball achievement, but then it can all too quickly become tiresome. And I know it's a hallmark of games in the Duke Nukem legacy, which, believe it or not, Phantom Fury is, but other than using them to collect a few hidden resources here and there, the overabundance of this interactivity ends up going largely overlooked, given there are a good few gimmicks which you can't overlook, such as a few different vehicles, and a reasonably straightforward upgrade system, but their sheer abundance and seeming randomness stop them from being anything particularly special, and can even lead to a pretty inconsistent pace. Sure, having lulls in the action can be great, it gives you a breather and builds anticipation for the next engagement, but when the action grinds to a halt because you have to use a crane with dodgy physics to pile up crates just so you can get to the next area, the experience can begin to feel like an arbitrary checklist of mechanics and encounters. Now, I know it sounds like I'm being pretty down on the game, but there is fun to be had here, even if it's only the shoot the guy until he jibs type. But it's just that even with all these different environments, mechanics, weapons and upgrades, nothing really stood out to me. All the right parts are there, making me really want to like Phantom Fury, but it feels like it's all just put together slightly wrong, and the game just felt like an amalgam of elements lifted from other, more beloved games, so much to the extent that I actually got deja vu in a few places, as though it was a game I had played years earlier. Maybe that was the plan, what with its retro aesthetic, but ultimately if there's nothing unique to offer, then I might as well go back and play those older games. Finally, a good story usually would, and has previously, forgiven a lot of these kind of shortcomings for me, but given that I've entirely forgotten to mention the plot until now, probably shows you what kind of impact it had on me. Still, ripping a dude's head off with your bionic arm is pretty cool, so I guess everything's forgiven after all.